South Asia has the largest number of children in slavery. Children who are being trafficked within the countries and cross-border trafficking. The largest number of illiterate people and illiterate children in the world. And almost 60% of them are girls. We are all born free. And we all given this divine gift of freedom as the birthright. But how we can allow that the birthright of freedom of millions of young people is taken away even without they understand that they are enslaved. Before that it is taken away. Many of them are born and grow up like that. So we have to see that how we can do it. The knowledge deficit. Here in India, in my own country, India, when we talk to certain sections of society, they were shocked. Oh, we didn't know that slavery does exist today. People are still unaware that the children, millions of children, are denied education. Almost 60 million children have never been to school, who have to be in primary classes, and 200 million children have to be in secondary schools, are not there. So altogether, 260 million children are out of school. And there is a triangular relationship. Many people think that it is poverty which causes all the problems. But for last 30, 40 years, since my own work I started, I have been arguing that there is a triangular relationship between poverty, child labor, and illiteracy. Look at the statistics. As I said, 168 million children are working as child laborers. 210 million adults are jobless. 260 million children who have to be in primary and secondary schools, they are not there. They are out of school. And who are these children who are working in full-time jobs? Normally, their parents are jobless. The parents who are not able to secure a job for more than 100 days a year, they are compelled to send their children to work. And the same study revealed that a child laborer worked for 450 days a year. Because child is preferred being not only the cheapest source of labor or free laborer, but also child is forced to work for 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day. So that makes a vicious circle. We live in a world which is so fast growing, so advanced in technology. The access to the world is on our fingertips. We have already conquered Mars. We have been able to take the very close-up pictures of Pluto. We are connected with high-speed internet. If the internet is slow, we become very frustrated and angry sometimes because we need very high-speed connections. But where is that speed? We cannot reach out to those 168 million children who are still working as child labor. Can we not reach out to those almost 50 million adults and children who are in slavery? Can't we reach out and free those 5.5 million children who are born and grew up and working as slaves? Imagine a child who is trafficked from her village, a girl. She was sold to a domestic help, for a domestic help. Then she was transferred by the same trafficking agencies or traffickers to work brothels. She became pregnant at the age of 15. Then when we free those girls and boys who lost their education opportunities, who lost their health opportunities, who lost freedom, then we have to work with 7 or 8 different agencies, departments and ministries. So policy deficits at every level. And then the financing deficit. Would you believe that only $22 billion additional funding can bring all children to school in the world? That is an annual additional expenditure needed. But when you compare it with the global military expenditure, in the name of defense, we produce so many weapons, arms, ammunition, and soldiers. It is $1.6 trillion. Only 4.5 days of global military expenditure can ensure education for all children. We have to ask ourselves, are we really poor? Is the world really poor? Which cannot take away the guns and tools from the hands of tiny children and replace them with books and toys and pencils and teachers. We live in a world, we are in a number of countries. The number of soldiers is 5 times to 20 times more than the number of teachers. The number of bullets is multiple times more than the number of books in those countries. How can slavery and civilized go hand in hand? Is it not a paradox? Today we have 168 million children in child labor. South Asia has almost 13 to 15 million, different statistics. For example, India, 4 or 5 million, Nepal 2 million, Pakistan almost 5 million, Bangladesh almost same, so it is about 15 million. And a larger number of adults are jobless in South Asia. But the number 168 million in the world is a figure which was the result of lot of efforts made by civil society, governments and corporate during last 15 years. Because only 15 years ago, 260 million children were working in full-time jobs globally. Until 1999, there was no international law to combat the worst forms of child labor, like slavery, trafficking, use of children, prostitution, and child soldiers, and so on. Very recent past. At that time, 260 million children were working in full-time jobs. I had a crazy idea those days. I thought that let us demand an international law. People laughed at me. How would it be possible? You are not a politician, you are not the president of a country, you cannot simply go from one to another country. If I had to go to travel to Pakistan, I have to wait for days to secure my visa, and my friends who wanted to come from Pakistan to India, they have to wait for it, and especially children. So it was quite complicated. In other countries, South Sudan, Uganda, Eritrea, Ethiopia, so the border conflicts were there. But I said that let us march across the world to demand a new international law. We organized a global march which went across 103 countries. We covered 80,000 kilometers distance, which was double than the periphery of the earth. 71 presidents, prime ministers, and kings and queens joined the march physically, because the march was led by children. The 6-month march was joined by more than 15 million people physically, and almost half of them were children. And that has built a strong demand and resulted in political response. So when we reached in Geneva, ILO has changed its protocol and gave us chance to speak. And our children demanding that we don't want tools and guns in our hands. We want books and toys. And the resolution has been passed the same year on the spot by the international community, and the following year, the new international law on worst forms of child labor was enacted. And that was ILO Convention 182. It has become the fastest ever ratified convention in the world history, any UN convention. And the result, as I said, was that the governments, parliaments have to shrink their laws or make new laws, and the number of child labor fallen from 260 billion to 168 billion. In 15 years, we could achieve that. So we need innovations, not in technology alone, but also in social interventions. We have to find new ways. We have to use the business models and the business intelligence to solve the complex social problems. We can use technology to solve those problems as well as the business. I call upon the people in many of my meetings with business leaders that it is not philanthropy, it is not the corporate social responsibility, it is not the responsible business models, it is not only the corporate social accountability, but we have to go beyond that. And that is the business with compassionate intelligence. All the businesses are done with intelligence to earn more money, more profit. But if we link the compassionate intelligence, compassion with intelligence, then perhaps there would be much more satisfaction in boardrooms, among the shareholders, the management, employees, and your customers. Because then you are not going to harm the societies and the planet. You are keeping an eye that we have to be compassionate to protect human beings, their cultures, their education, together with the planet.